Welcome back to the SPN Show. Thanks, Preston. It's the SPN Show. It's Suneet, Preston, Nick McLean. And today we're going to be talking about the 8 pillars of a highly successful real estate team, Suneet.
Yes, sir.
And this was inspired by a document, your future book, your manifesto on how to create, really the biggest bolts, the biggest machinery, the biggest rocks that every successful team needs to have. So
I think we need to point out Suneet's new look.
Yeah.
Very nice and young. Look at him.
I feel young, dude, which is a good thing.
You look good.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, if you don't know this, you pick it up on YouTube. Suneet has a nice mustache.
Yes.
Clean shaven, and he looks so much younger. Those baby cheeks.
I do. Yes. Little note that I feel younger. And hair dye definitely helps. So there you go. My mom was right, and so I'll run with it. But back to this document. So coaching now for a couple years, running my team, the number 1 team in California, running these, and people really want a framework, I think, to run their business out of. And as I talk to coaching clients, and I think about creating more white papers, which, Nick and I talk about all this stuff, and reports. This is a document that took me a couple of years. And then I said, well, I'm just going to make it into a book. So we've written about 40 pages, but this document, for the purpose of this podcast and episode, I think is great because I think it's good to talk about. Right. So I'll just go ahead and get started. Right. Like, I think that there's 8 steps to having a successful real estate business. And I'll just go over them really quickly, and then we can break down each one.
Yes.
Okay. So the first one is agent offering. The next one is recruiting. The next one is agent enrollment and onboarding. And we can get into the nuances of what the difference is in my mind. Then you have transactions and sales. You have your marketing and your branding. You have your support staff. You have your ongoing trainings and meetings. And you have your ancillary services, which many people don't even know about or even think about. Yet others I know, like my partner in Big Block, that's all he thinks about is ancillary. So
once you get these major pillars in place, then you start thinking about other revenue sources.
Yes.
Yeah. And
although I think it's important that when you start that you know what an ancillary service is, right? Like whether that's a lender partner who's giving you money to pay for half your leads. I was a realtor for 5 days until I had a lender partner pay for half my leads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you would be very surprised at the amount of people that do not, even companies that do not realize like they could set up MSAs with lenders.
Yes.
And so the MSA, Preston, is what for people?
It's marketing service agreement.
Yeah, I think
and the way lenders do it now is they use a third-party valuation, because they used to, you'd be able to just sign something, they would send it over or whatever. But a lot of especially the larger lenders, now they're sending it off. You fill out the information, what you're going to offer and what it's going to be. They send it out to a third party to value what you're offering. And then that's a lot of times they don't give you the full amount, but they give you whatever, something below what that offering is, so a lot of companies and teams and agents don't realize those things are out there.
They don't, and they don't know how to articulate the value on why someone should partner with them or who's the best fit to partner with. Suneet made a good point. He was an agent for 5 days. I think my team was probably less than 30 days old when I got a lender partner. Still have the same lender partner for a decade.
Yeah. I mean, I did forever till I opened up my own mortgage company, and he didn't want to partner anymore.
That's the next level. That's the ascension model, right? Where you actually have the equity in the lending partner model.
Yes.
Let's talk. And these aren't, I think these aren't in the right order of ways to go about it necessarily. Or are they?
I
What's the
think
first
I
step?
think in the beginning they are, because the very first one is agent offering. When I meet a new coaching client, and I've been very fortunate to have met many, people want to just, how do I recruit? How do I recruit? And that's good. That's the right question. But what are you selling? Just write it out. And it's not about splits.
No.
It's what's the value? Because look, I've done hundreds of recruiting appointments. I know what any recruit is going to say at any time. I know every objection in that book. So I want whoever I'm working with, whoever this organization owner is, to be able to have an answer and be able to love their answer, be a zealot about their freaking answer. Like, you have to, if you're going to sell something, you had better love it, man. So let's make sure that you love it before you talk about recruiting anybody.
So what are the essential pieces of an agent offering then? You know, what are you selling as a team?
So you're an agent. What's the first thing that you're going to ask me when you come sit across the table with me?
Well, it depends on where I'm at in my career, but I probably think leads.
Okay,
Because I'm a salesperson, so I know I need to be fed. And I know how much effort it takes to get a lead and a cost.
great. How about you, Preston? What's the first thing that you would say?
For me, I would, if I'm the person interviewing, I would try to talk about their past, their experience, and those type of things. For me, the first question, it wouldn't be leads because I'll just generate my own leads. But it would be more to like, what's your vision? Like, what is the Suneet team about?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yes.
What are the things that are important to you? Where do you see this team in 3 years, 5 years? Because
Preston's getting deep. No agents ever asked that, bro.
I'm just saying, because I have that perspective of I could generate my own leads, I always have. So that would not be a question for me. But if I was this person doing,
we're not talking about you, Preston. We're talking about the bell curve of agents.
You asked me if I was the agent.
Yeah, we did. So here's what it is. It's no one ever starts with leads. The amount of people that start off with leads is very low because, and it's a great thing about humanity, no one wants to appear greedy. Okay. Sometimes it is about leads, sometimes it isn't. So typically it goes in some kind of order of what's your support look like? What's your training look like? Right? What's your support training? What's your support look like? What's your training look like? What's your tech look like? Then you have marketing and branding. And I want to be really separate that too, because you're going to have some agents who come to you for branding and they're going to say, well, can I use my own brand? And you're going to have some agents that come to you for branding and say, well, I really love your brand. Can I use your brand? So do you have an answer for both? Right. And then at that point, it's going to come to leads. And the final question for 70% of agents that you meet is the splits. So all that I tell people that I meet is, I just want you to have an answer for all of those, an answer that you love. In the context of this, I'm not making any changes to anything. Do you have training? Tell me about your training. Something that I think is big for me in the value add of my business is we do some kind of training every day. Now, is that sustainable for a lot of smaller teams? Absolutely not. And I get that. Have some training schedule that you love. Right? That's it. So the agent offering has to be nailed. So I think that's first.
And getting clear on that and your value proposition. It's like your value proposition. For me, yeah. And as you're saying that, Suneet, I guess you're right. Before we talk about any split, let's first talk about the company and whether that's mission, vision. But it's for us, my team, it's always been a foundation of training, which ties into the onboarding, which ties into the tech, which ties into the support, which ties into the process.
So I think for the purpose of this document and this episode is first.
Yeah.
And then ultimately in coaching, a lot of people want to get straight into recruiting. I think it's usually a better idea, but also a more painful point for many of these business operators to have your onboarding and enrollment dialed, right? Like we do. And Nick, you have a terrific course on that. So if any listeners want more information on that, check Nick's course out. I know it's there somewhere, chetblacklive.com or something. But whatever you're going to do, then let's talk about the difference between enrollment and onboarding. Enrollment can also be a somewhat painful process depending on the state. California, there's a lot of friggin' papers. Maybe you got 2 contracts. Shit, I do. I have a brokerage and team contract. And you got a lot of things. You got to get the person a Follow Boss account. You got to give them a Trainual account. You got to be careful not to overwhelm them, right? You have to massage them into the team culture. That's the enrollment.
And I want to touch on that enrollment piece. They don't know how this works. If they're already at another company, they are overwhelmed on what they don't know about, and they're anxious about what they don't know, and they have fear over joining you and so for us, we have to have a plan in place and say, we don't have to tell them A to Z. We just have to say, we have a plan for you. We know how to do it, right? We have a roadmap.
Let me give the listeners and viewers a tip that has made me probably close to $1 million on the enrollment, or maybe saved me.
Yeah.
No doubt has increased the agent satisfaction when joining the organization. And that is, forever an agent would join and I'd fire him off like 10 emails. So log in a Follow Boss, log in a Slack, log in a Trainual, log in a some other shit, log in a call action, log into this, email how to access the pond, and it would cause overwhelm, right? Facebook group.
They do none of it.
Well, it would just be the ones that did it was very few. And the place where it cost me a bunch of money, where I saved money, was my staff. I had to send out all these friggin' emails, right? And then track all these single things down. You're chasing, yes, right? Did we send this? Mark this off. Did we send this? Mark this off. There were some automations, but sure. So this is what we did. And when someone joins now, when I figured this out, dude, like everyone on my staff just loves
huge relief.
And like we send one email. And it's mild. And so this is where the onboarding, not necessarily the specific contract training, which I think is a sub part of the onboarding,
sure.
But that's where we send them one email, and it's a login to friggin' Trainual. And the first video, what we're going to do. Then they learn what a CRM is. Then they go through some basic levels of a CRM, and then they request the CRM from us. When they're ready, the next step in our onboarding is please send an email to Joe, my VA. You guys know him, the greatest, right? And request Follow Boss. And then we do that. And then they go through training at that. Then, they learn about YLOPO, our CRO. And they go to the training on that, the basics. Then they send an email to Joe. Please give me a YLOPO, our CRO account. So that step-by-step milestone thing has eliminated a shit ton of work for my staff and has eliminated overwhelm because it's really reasonable now. Like there's one thing, and the agent, the recruit, is in charge of their own next steps. Guess what? I'm not chasing people around at all now either. Like, hey, I get some leads, bro. You haven't even got Follow Boss.
Yeah. Well, here, Suneet, I actually have a similar thought process here. I think about it as a video game. And, I grew up playing video games, probably like you guys, with Nintendo or like a Nintendo 64, like Super Mario Brothers. There's 12 levels. Well, each one has a checkpoint, right? And you got to, you got this person, they're the hero. They're part of the journey. They're on this. They go on the journey and they have to hit the end of level 1. And when they hit level 1, hey, reach out and get access to level 2, which is Follow Up Boss. And then when you reach the end of that, chapter or that level, you beat the dragon, you get to get your next sword, right? Like you're acquiring things through the process. I'm not calling it gamification. I'm just saying, think about it as stages.
So I say it's milestone based. As you complete a milestone and you get the next thing.
Yeah,
and that
Preston, please say something.
psychologically, I love this, Suneet, because psychologically they're getting dopamine, like keep going, instead of a data dump, swipe file, drinking from a fire hose.
Horrible.
Yeah. The thing about that too, like if you think about it, you give them all the logins right away, you give them all those things, then you're begging them to go through the training.
Yeah.
You're begging them to actually do it. Where if you say, hey, you have to do this before you get X, then they're going to do those things. Where if you just give them the logins, here's the login to follow up boss, go ahead and do what you can to figure it out and then come to a training tomorrow.
Totally.
And they don't show up for the training or whatever. They're like, I'll just figure it out on my own. And then all of a sudden you have constant question after question for month after month.
Yeah.
For me, like you guys, like I'm such like the natural progression milestone thing. Just that approach for a lot of all the businesses has really freed up my mind and, saved me a lot of money. So enrollment, onboarding, and you guys both have incredible onboarding. Nick, like I said, Nick has an amazing course. Go to cheplacklive.com
wherever it's at.
And Preston has his agent group thing, and I am not involved in my onboarding at all anymore, but this is what I think is happening. Is Anna talked to Trip, who runs your onboarding, Anna Stender, who who works for me.
Yeah,
she talked to Trip and he inspired her to create some similar shit. So I think that there's a course, 4-week course every week. So it starts over every week.
Yeah.
That's what you guys do, right?
We do. Well, so the Agent Excellence Program is what you're talking about. It's actually a 7-week course, but it's for brand new agents. So new agents or agents that have been in business 1 to 2 years. And a lot of times they didn't get the proper training where they're at. They didn't have the support staff and everything else. So we started that. Trip heads that up, but we actually have a lady in our office, Emily, who handles all the onboarding. Like she's a dedicated onboarding person.
Well, what is that onboarding? Our enrollment?
No, she's doing onboarding and enrollment as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think the moral of the story is we've all spent a lot of time thinking about how we're going to enroll and onboard our people onto the company.
Yeah. I mean, the way we enroll the newer agents is a 7-week program.
We have, you think about real estate teams, they got transaction coordinators in place to help their agents with the transaction. They got listing coordinators to input and do all the listings. Well, who do you have in place to enroll and onboard your agents?
Most companies don't, or teams.
It's a huge, and it's like almost essential, right?
Oh, dude.
It's a lot more important than somebody inputting listings.
Way more important, because that person's going to get you dozens, if not hundreds, of listings over the life.
They're going to essentially build their what they think of the company based on that onboarding experience. If they have a bad experience, I tell people a lot of the best times to recruit people is wait 30 days after they join the company, reach out to them and ask them how it's going.
You're a G for that one. I learned from you on that. I love that.
Yeah. It's like, because most people, I mean, you think about it, most people that join after 30 days, they know if what they were told is happening or not happening. All that great information, leads, and everything else they are promised, they realize pretty quickly if that's happening or not.
And you think whatever company they left, you think they're talking to them about their experience that they're going through? Like 100%. So where we at, Suneet, with the 8 pillars?
Next is recruiting. And interestingly enough, when somebody approaches me to work in coaching, I think it's pretty true for the whole Cheplack Live coaching organization, is that a lot of people want to recruit. That's why I joined, right? So recruiting system. So many teams don't have it.
Afterthought. It's an afterthought. It's like organically growing, which is they're also organically.
Don't say that to me.
Yeah.
Like I get like, yes.
Well, so it becomes, for most teams or companies, it becomes a necessity when they need it most, when they're in
good
trouble,
point.
you know,
Pain,
like
when
they're
pain
on pain
hits.
point. And then when they're doing well with it, they're like, oh, I did really good last month. I don't need to recruit. And we all know the best way to recruit is being consistent. I mean, consistently doing the same thing over and over and over again, you'll continue to get the same results or better results.
So have your recruiting plan. Cold outreach, right? Like inbound leads, like organic leads, right? Like have an answer for that. Like
That's so funny you mentioned that, Suneet. So I have a coaching client, and he's running an Indeed ad, right? And he got a bunch of leads. I called him leads. He got a bunch of inquiries, and he sent out some email response. Just some automatic. He goes, "What do you think about my email response?" And I was like, "Well, wait a second. Of the 100, which ones were really qualified? Which ones were like you really want them on your team? Do you think quality people are going to wait around for you?
No.
You got to
speed to lead.
It's
It's
a lead.
It's a lead. It's a lead.
It's a lead. Yes.
It's
I know.
I said, if you had a homeowner that was ready to sell their home for $1 million and it's worth 1.2 and they're going to give you 6% commission, how fast are you going to call?
Yes. Dude,
yes. Do you guys think about that the same way as I'm thinking about it?
Oh, Nick, I hear it all the time because everyone's using my Indeed ad, right? Like it's all I hear. I'm all, come on. What do? Pick up the phone, send them a text if you don't want to call. Text is probably better, right? There's 2 scripts. You get an inbound lead for a recruit. There's 2 scripts. If you can clearly tell that they're licensed, the script is easy. Hey, Nick, I just got your information from Indeed for a position that I'm hiring for a real estate agent. Although, that should not be the headline of your ad. That's going to be in a different episode. For a real estate agent, I would love to get on a quick call and just chat. Send Calendly link. And if you can't clearly tell that they're licensed, hey, Nick, just got your information from Indeed that I'm running for real estate agent. Just want to make sure. Do you currently have your California real estate license? Send.
And I've called people really quickly and they're like, wow, that was quick. I wasn't expecting that. I go, this is what I expect from you if you were to join my company. Right?
It's the expectation from the very first interaction. Yes. You should do anyways as a salesperson.
Are you sure this is the career for you? Because I expect the same thing from you at 7:00 at night, Saturdays and Sundays, because that's where it's at.
Yeah, right? I don't say all that. I just hire them.
Suneet hires them all.
Checks for faults.
Yes. But that's the way I think about the law of primacy there. Is like, yeah. I learned that a long time ago. When it comes to talent, they're not going to be around. You might lose really qualified people to other careers, other industries, other real estate companies.
I think that the recruiting piece, at least in like the coaching journey, ends up being a lot for a lot of people. And also, I mean, look at us. Like, I'm accountable to those numbers, like with myself. Do you know what I mean? So that accountability there, the actions, I mean, not everybody can afford to hire somebody dedicated. I know Preston has a great guy who hammers the phones, right? And makes those contacts. I've had a VA hammering the phone for 4 years, the same guy part-time, and he does great too. Like, but someone's going to have to do the damn thing.
Someone's going to have to do it.
And one thing too, when you talk about recruiting, we just did the feedback loop on Wednesday. And looking at, then we had a lady in our office go through and put everything that everybody put in the feedback loop. And one of the things,
you shared it with everybody?
Huh?
You shared it with everybody, all of them?
We share the form, they fill it out, and then we looked at it internally under management.
Okay.
And the one thing that we got the most of continue doing was grow.
Oh, wow.
Continue
big, bro.
Growing.
I want everyone to listen to this very carefully.
We had one that said stop growing.
Yeah, of course.
We had 16 out of the amount in there said continue to grow.
Now, why do you think a human being would say that?
Because of the atmosphere we built, because the more people we bring in, the more help they receive, the more answers they get to their questions, the more social activity they get going on, the
more branding they get to.
The more community.
And it's exciting too. It's always changing, exciting.
Well, and that's what I tell them when there's that growth worry. I'm like, listen, what is the best way for us to grow as a company? Is our branding is out there more and more. So when you do have that conversation with a potential listing, most likely they've seen you on social. Most likely they've seen you, yard signs
on Google.
Yeah, on Google. And they, and they say that we see Palms everywhere. We see Palms Realty everywhere. So, there's always, the reason why I say that, there's always that worry of recruiting and growing. But most people want to be with somebody that's growing, not dying.
All the time.
Those progressive people that you want inside your organization want that.
Yeah. They do. They seek that. Yeah.
And Preston, dude, I have to give, number one, every listener, viewer, feedback loop, crucial to doing your business. Number one. Number two, Preston, I can't believe 16 people even filled out the damn form. So good for you. You got 17 people fill it. I get
we got 40 or 50 of them. So
you did? Did you do it on a Google form or written form?
Google form.
Yeah, we got ours on Monday. So
and not everyone knows what a feedback loop is, and that's a whole nother episode. But have some level, have some rhythm or mechanism for your people to give you their opinion, their voice.
A comment box.
A comment, but somewhere they have to have a way to tell you what they're thinking. Otherwise, it's going to show up somewhere. They're saying it, just not to you. They're saying around the water cooler.
You always
in the back office.
You got to give them a voice. I mean, that's the thing. You got to give them a voice. You can't lead and just it be what you're doing and what you're saying, and that's it. So
if you have drama, if there's drama in your office, it's because you don't have an outlet for a voice.
Correct.
So, okay, recruiting. It's important. If you don't believe me, then
that's a full episode, by the way.
Yeah, that's a full season.
I think each pillar is its own episode.
Yeah. So agent and enrollment and onboarding. We talked about we talked about enrollment. Do you want to touch on onboarding or move on to the next one, Suneet?
Well, we talked about recruiting, and the next one that you need to have a system for is transactions and sales. And it's probably yes, that's so robust. That could be a couple of different sections, honestly, but I like to think of it like this as kind of a macro view. What's your transaction system? I'm not talking about tech. What are the steps? What's your sales process? I am talking about tech a little bit. Right? Build it. And I think people should get comfortable with being able to write it out and look at it. Right? You should have, a flow chart, I think, on what your sales process and transaction process is.
A checklist.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about all this. I mean, the biggest thing, and each of us know this, the biggest downfall in real estate is teams, or companies as well. They have zero structure because it's a business. A lot of times, if you think about real estate companies are owned by salespeople who most of the time suck at systems.
Yeah.
They've never brought on the staff. They've never brought on the operations person. They never brought on those people. They're basically leading a company with a bunch of salespeople.
I think that that's been something that's been huge in whatever journey that I've personally been on and I'm not an engineer, although I have lots of family that is. A lot. There's a racial joke in there, but it's also true. but those structures have made my freaking life. Learning about that and just thinking about it that way. So
that's an area that people need to grow in. What I hear a lot, Suneet and Preston, is when I coach, is I just need to find that one person to do everything for me. I need to find that integrator. And I'm yeah, that's true, but you also need to grow as an integrator too. Because
you need to have a SOP system checklist that the integrator can work to.
Yeah, you can't, like training or whatever. You can't.
They're not going to create it for you.
No, you're not going to hire an ISA and say, go make calls and schedule appointments.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And you want them to create it for you. No, they can make it better, right? You can have the SOP and then bring in the integrator or the ISA, and they can work off of that framework and make it better based on their.
Yeah, you got to, I mean, for me, it's like, I like having an integrator and operator because I come up with the systems and ideas and I want them to do it. So they have the systems and they know what I expect, but they're the ones who are actually putting together all those.
That's true. That's the thing that people don't understand about the integrator is the visionary or the other person needs to give them the guidance and the direction and the leadership and then get it done.
Correct.
You have to help them with the what and the how, and then they figure out and give you feedback.
It's different. One's good at implementation and building those things out. And you need the visionary to come up with those ideas because that person's probably not going to come up with them.
And you understand all of the different areas of the business. So you have to think about all of the interconnectedness of the divisions, right? How does that listing process affect the transaction process, affect the lead flow, or affect the marketing, right? When I was helping the airline build out their systems, I don't know if you guys know that in 2006, I helped an airline get their certificate, their FAA certificate in Miami. And there was one gentleman that was in charge of how do the manuals affect other manuals? If someone in the maintenance department creates a procedure, how does that affect the operations department? It was a weird position.
Yeah, you do, but that's big. We should make a note of that.
Yeah. So it was like the interconnected. I've never thought about that before because it might be the right call in maintenance, but it could also, if the pilots don't know about that, it could cause a problem down the road. So it was like they hired the FAA, the government actually required that position.
Dude,
so
that's deep, bro.
It's super deep when you think about it. But that's how deep you got to get in your transaction, right? And your sales. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been caught off guard hiring experienced agents that I assume know how to make a sale or follow a process. But they don't know how we do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want them, maybe they're doing it a great way and I want to find out what they're doing great. But at the same time, I want to see if they can follow our process.
I just want the check boxes to be marked.
Yeah.
There. All right.
So,
well, we got halfway through.
Yeah. I got to hop off in a couple of minutes.
Well, let's wrap it up by foreshadowing for the next episode what's left on the pillars.
All right. Well, so transactions and sales is a big one, but for the next episode, we'll get into marketing and branding, which is different. We'll talk about support staff, which is your ISAs, your transaction coordinators, your management, your recruiter. Maybe it's your broker, right? All of us have brokers. Ongoing trainings and meetings.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And ancillaries if we have time. So no matter how we do it, is you guys will be hearing all the great viewers and listeners out there. We appreciate you, but you'll be hearing about this is just like the chapters of my book I'll never write. And I will because I want to make a book funnel. Because Frank Kern has one.
But you could write a book on every single pillar.
Yeah.
100%.
These pillars are kind of important to what we're working on.
Imagine if there was a platform or a system or an environment in which they would do this for you or show you how to do it. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yes. Well, good cliffhanger.
Well, of course I think this is episode 7. We didn't even announce it, but we have previous episodes on marketing, lead conversion, lead generation, and so much more, guys. Any final words?
Yes. Thank you to all our subscribers and viewers and listeners. And if you got something out of this, share it with a friend. If you listened to it and you liked it, hey, share the little picture on social media that you thought it was good. Right. Yes. Leave a review. Like all these things, we're not selling anything on this, but we want to know if you guys are digging it. I know both of you guys have gotten Facebook messages, and I got a couple of text messages, so we love those. So
we're not that far removed from you. if you want to reach out and say hi and say you're watching the podcast or have questions about your business, we're not like in an ivory tower at this point.
No, I don't think we'll ever be there. I think we enjoy this too much to, that's the big reason why Coach, I mean, obviously the money's great, but also helping people and seeing other people succeed and having success, building things. And also take a screenshot and tell Suneet how much you love his mustache.
I love it. I love it.
I didn't realize you had tattoos. You have tattoo too?
I'm covered. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
From like age 15 to 25, I got tattoos straight.
Just don't get face tattoos. You get.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
No, those beautiful.
I haven't had a tattoo since I was 25 because at 25 I got one and I was all, this really hurts and sucks. I'm over it. It ain't that cool. It's just really painful. All right. Well, good. Cool, guys. See you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.